Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. Doing Friday reads, my normal Friday reads. Yeah, not much preamble. I just go straight into the books. The first book I finished recently was my audio book, which is a very short audio book. It was only about 6 hours long, and that was Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I've always been a fan of the Green brothers, John and Hank Green, who were early YouTubers, and John is an author mostly known for his sort of YA books, but he's written a couple of non-fictions now. He wrote The Anthropocene Reviewed, and which I didn't read, and now this Everything is Tuberculosis. And because I follow John Green on TikTok and other social things, YouTube and stuff, I often see him talking about tuberculosis. It's been a subject he's been fascinated with for the last few years, and it has really, seeing him talk about it has really brought it into my mind as well, or has educated me, because I didn't realise how bad a problem tuberculosis still was. Like, he talks about in the book how people associate it with like Keats and like the Victorian poets and things, or was Keats Victorian? I can't remember. But yeah, long dead poets. But it is still the world's most deadly disease, and it's still killing 1.25 million people every year. And we often, when we read history, we often read about how terrible things like communism were, and how many deaths communism was responsible for. But capitalism, if you think about it, is killing these 1.2.5 million people every year. And since they've cured TB in 1955 or whatever, apparently 150 million people have died from it. And that is because of greed and a phrase he often says in the book is the drugs are where the disease is not, and the disease is where the drugs are not. The disease is killing people in Africa, so the Western nations don't really care about it. And the sad thing is, it's going to get even worse now, because that idiot Elon Musk cut USAID, which was helping millions of people in Africa survive TB. But yeah, it's a really, this book I listened to it on audio because I think he's got a good speaking voice for audio books, John Green, and he basically goes through the history of the disease, his connection with it, where he meets a young guy called Henry who reminds him of his son, and Henry kind of is his gateway into learning about TB. So yeah, he talks about the history of it, what's going on now, how it was cured and things, and it's a very fascinating little book, and powerful, and yeah, for a non-fiction, very short. I really enjoyed it, and John Green is a much more optimistic and hopeful person, and kind of person than I think I am, because it made me angry, and he definitely looks at it from a perspective of hope, and like, this is a curable disease. There are things we can do that will stop people dying from this disease. And yeah, he is hopeful that it's getting better. It is getting better, but well, it might not now. But yeah, I was far more angry at the drug companies and just everything else that stops us caring about people in Africa. One of the terrible reasons why we don't send stuff like antibiotics to Africa and stuff is because we don't want humans to become immune to them. So we don't want to waste antibiotics and drugs on Africans. We want to save them for the white people. It's a very angry subject, but yeah, John Green dealt with it very well, and I highly recommend the book. The second book I read and finished was Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I read this because there's a group on BookTube reading it. They're doing it's like Sean D. Stanfast and Summer and other people are reading like modern sci-fis, because I think Sean and some of the other sort of people in that group are more vintage sci-fi people, like I am as well. But I love Children of Time. I've read it before, and I've read the sequel Children of Ruin before, and I was watching the videos and things, and I couldn't resist myself going back and rereading it, because I realised it has been about sort of 6 or 7 years since I read it. And when the first time I read it, I thought it was brilliant, and I still think it's probably my favourite science fiction book of the 21st century. It was probably my favourite modern science fiction book. And I've read a lot of Adrian Tchaikovsky's other stuff since then, and he is consistently good. I don't think he's ever reached the heights of Children of Time again, but he's consistently good, and he churns out about 2 or 3 books a year, which is mad, given the quality of the stuff he produces. And Adrian Tchaikovsky has a background in zoology, so a lot of his books revolve around science fiction uplifting of animals that David Brin sort of did in his uplift books, like Star Tide Rising, about super intelligent space dolphins. This book, Children of Time, I don't think is a spoiler to say, is about spiders, and it is full of science fiction elements that I absolutely love. So one thing I've always loved is animals in science fiction, and so although I am definitely afraid of spiders, I love the spiders in this, and you will feel empathy for spiders. And it has uplifting animals. It's a great concept. I love books about ark ships, and this is an ark ship where humanity's last hope has been launched in a ship. I also love cryosleep, or whatever other term you want to use for it, where humans can go to sleep for a long time. And I've just watched all of series 1 and 2 of Foundation as well, which has a lot of that in it. So I might have to revisit Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, or I've only read the first one as well, because that has made me fancy going back to Foundation, because I didn't love Foundation when I read it, but I've enjoyed the series. So yeah, so cryosleep, another great concept. What was the other one I was thinking of? Terraforming. There's terraforming as well. So I love all of those concepts in science fiction. So the basic premise of this book is these humans have launched an ark ship because the Earth is dying. The Earth has been killed off by various factions, and they've gone through like an ice age, and these people who are launching off into an ark ship are like long after the peak of Earth's technology and stuff. So they've kind of pieced together stuff from the ancients, from the ancient civilization before we destroyed each other, and poisoned the Earth. So as the ice goes down, all the poisons sort of ruining the Earth. So these Ice Age people have pieced together a ship and launched as a last-ditch effort. Thousands of years before that, there had been experiments in other planets in the galaxy. So they had sent out different ships and things to terraform planets. And one of the main characters we follow is a Dr. Kern, and she's like in charge of this uplifting kind of program. It's not called uplifting in this, but I'm calling it that because that's what David Ring calls it in his series. But the basic concept is you terraform a planet. She's designed this disease that speeds up evolution. So you terraform a planet, chuck a bunch of monkeys on it with this disease in them, and it greatly increases the rate of evolution. You come back in a 1,000 years, and she stays there on the ship orbiting, and waits for signals. So waits for radio signals. She sends a radio signal to the planet, waits until the monkeys have evolved enough, until they have technology that can contact her in space. So she's doing that experiment. Obviously it goes wrong and the monkeys all crash into the planet and die. She goes into stasis anyway, and then from then on you follow spiders, because the spiders are the ones who have the disease. Other animals have the disease as well, but on this world, spiders are the ones that kind of take over the world, which sounds like a scary concept, but the strength of this book is how good Adrian Tchaikovsky is at writing the culture of the spiders, so the history and the culture, and you follow individuals throughout time. So this is books set over thousands of years, and you follow individual spiders at various points. They tend to have the same name, like Portia or Fabian, and they're named after their kind of species. But he visits them, the spiders, throughout like big moments in their history and evolution, and he's just so good at devising this culture of what a super intelligent spider community would be like, or culture would be like, because it has a background in zoology. He incorporates parts of actual sort of spider behaviour into it. So one of the challenges in sci-fi is to make aliens believable, and these are not really aliens, but they're an alien society based on reality, on real things. So he's so good at that, and it's completely believable society. And then the second storyline is the Ark ship and them trying to find a planet to settle on, and that's a long series, and you follow different characters in that. You mostly follow historians, so that also appeals to me because I'm a historian, or I did history at university and I have an interest in it. So you follow this historian. So he's the world's leading expert on the ancients, and he's one of the only people that can really interpret ancient language. So he's the one that ends up being able to talk to Kern, who's the doctor who seeded this spider planet, and Kern doesn't want them on her planet, and they go off and do other stuff, and there's a whole other storyline. And that's another really good strength of Children of Time, is that the two different storylines that you follow, I find them equally interesting, and that is quite rare. Like, I love the Spiders storyline, but I think the Ark ship storyline's really good as well. So you end up being really excited to jump back into the next part of the story. But yeah, I read it again, loved it. I'm tempted to go back onto Children of Ruin now because I haven't read the third one. Children of Ruin, if I remember correctly, is set on another planet that has been uplifted, but on that planet I think it's like octopuses, or it's definitely underwater animals. So I don't remember that being quite as good, but I've heard quite good things about the third one as well, so maybe I should just reread all of them. And I kind of want to reread Foundation as well, so maybe I have a bit of a sci-fi dive going on. The other things I finished since I last did an update, I finished the Killing Floor by Lee Child. Don't want to speak any more about that because I've spoken about it a few times. I really enjoyed it. very stupid book. And I also read Lila by Marilyn Robinson, which again really enjoyed. This time around I didn't quite enjoy it as much as Gilead and Home, so I don't quite like Lila as much as those two, but I'm excited because now we're reading Jack this month and I have never read Jack, so those three were all rereads and now I get to read Jack. So I'm going to start that soon. I'm still reading the very chunky Vanity Fair, which I think I've been reading since March, because I started for March of the Mouths. I'm still only about 65% through this, and I've actually changed onto the audiobook. I'm kind of alternating on the audiobook and this, because you can get a free audiobook on Audible of this. But I'm still really enjoying Vanity Fair and Becky Sharp's hijinks. And the other thing I'm reading, which I'm really enjoying as well, but I've only just started, and I'm going very slow because it's my Historifon book, is the Burgundians by Bart van Loo, and this is a history of the Dukes of Burgundy. And I heard about this book because Bart van Loo was on the Rest is History podcast, and he was sort of the most enthusiastic historian they've ever had on there. He was a very interesting character, and that comes across in his writing. It's written in an incredibly entertaining manner. Yeah, he's a real storyteller, Bart van Loo, and this is a crazy time in history. I've read Barbara Tuchman's book on the 14th century. What's that? A Distant Mirror, and that overlaps quite a bit with this. And there's lots of kind of dukes and things in France all vying for power and stuff, and it's a very weird and crazy period of history. So I know a little bit about that, but this is obviously more focused on Burgundy itself and some of the famous dukes there, and there's lots of very weird funny stories in it, so I'm enjoying that so far. And I will crack on slowly with that whenever I fancy a bit of history. But yeah, that's my Friday reads. Let me know if you've read Children of Time, or if I do wonder if the spider element of it puts people off, but I can assure you I don't like spiders, but I love Children of Time. And if you've read the rest of the series, let me know. If you've picked up Everything is Tuberculosis, it's a very new book for me, but yeah, let me know. Have a good one, BookTube. Bye.